Hey y'all, hey, it's your girl Shantia, aka the Royaltia, back at it again. So we are going to be doing the Afro Resin Lady, putting letters on it without having to use a Cricut, because not all of us have one. So this is a nice and expensive way to do that. So make sure you have your respirator handy. Okay, we are working with resin. Make sure you have transparency paper. Okay, mine is inkjet, but if you have a laser, please get inkjet paper compatible with a laser printer. Also, you want to make sure you have your measuring cups that do have the ounces on the side, so it's easier to measure out our resin, and these are disposable, so we can trash them right after. But obviously we'll need our molds and have extra tiny molds next to you. I do like to keep molds next to me in case if I do accidentally pour too much resin, I'm not feeling like I'm wasting it, because we all know resin can be very, very, very pricey. So yeah, I was just showing y'all that. I'm not quite sure why, but I was. But yeah, so we are going to go ahead and get into this, okay? All right, y'all, I am back. And first step is we are going to clean our mold. This is very, very, very important because there is a lot of lint and dust on this mold because it's been a little minute since I have made something, and this has been literally laying on my carpet. So you can only imagine how much lint honestly got on this thing. So yeah, I'm just working on cleaning that. And I did have like a glitter spill situation. I'm pretty sure I had gotten all the glitter before I had started recording, honestly. But there was also some glitter on there. And honestly, just take your time and make sure you're using painter's tape because, of course, you do not want to be destroying your mold, getting anything tacky on it, because regular tape can mess up your mold. Painter tape is soft enough where it can pick up things and adhere things to it, but it won't mess up your mold. And that's very important. We don't want a scratched up mold. Also, have a spray bottle with you and have at least 91% isopropyl alcohol. If not, if you have 70, it's okay, but don't spray as much. My bottle, as you can see, is currently empty, but I'm just showing it because I normally use isopropyl, and this was something I needed to get done because I definitely wanted to get this video up for you guys, and because so many people had reached out to me, and I'm like, okay, like I gotta do this, and I did not realize beforehand that I didn't have isopropyl. But this is something that you really, really, really want to get, especially when you're dealing with transparency paper. I feel like it comes out better when you're just using isopropyl versus the heat gun. But I don't know, maybe it's just me. So yeah, please get isopropyl because it's easier to take out the bubbles that way. So we are going to go ahead and get our resin together. So I do use, for this one, I am using the Counterculture DIY Artist Resin, and I'm pouring part B first. The reason why I'm doing that is because part B is usually a lot thinner than part A. And if you just pour the thicker layer first and then have the top layer, the thinner one, I find personally that it is definitely more air bubbles because I really have to force the resin down versus me pouring the thinner one first and then pouring the thicker resin, which is part A, on top in a circular motion to kind of go ahead and start the mixing process. I feel like it's very easier that way for me to first and foremost mix. And I'm not having to add a lot of bubbles to it with forcing really hard and forcing the resin up and down, since the thinner part is at the bottom and it's easier to mix up. But y'all can see me pouring it in the circular motion, and I feel like I get a lot of less air bubbles that way. So this is how I do it. You don't have to do it that way, but it's actually something that I've seen somebody post in the Counterculture DIY Facebook group because I am a part of that. And that's where I learned the tip, and it's honestly helped me. Now, we don't like to waste nothing here, so y'all see how I have like resin on my gloves. All that needs to be wiped off because all that is uncured resin, and nobody has time to like accidentally touch that, you know what I'm saying? So I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab a baby wipe and clean my hands off. And y'all can see that I did print out what I needed to print. I had two separate trays that I need to get done, so I needed to go ahead and conserve paper. But y'all see how that's like kind of transparent, right? Okay, so you have to make sure your printer settings are set correctly. And you can always check to see if it's see-through or not with putting a sheet of paper behind it like I did. So y'all see that? Because I had to reprint it because it just was not working. So for me, I have the HP Envy, so I do everything off of my phone. You have to make sure the color option is whatever, but the quality needs to be the best. So the highest thing, because y'all can see how that's solid and it's not see-through, how the previous one was. So now that we have our resin, and I shouldn't have had it sitting there for so long, we're going to go ahead and start mixing. And y'all can see like I mix it like in a circular motion. I kind of lift it up, but not too much where it's actually coming above, I guess, the surface of the actual resin. And then every so often I do scrape the sides. So like I stir it for a couple of seconds and then I scrape the sides. Because if you're just stirring and not scraping the sides, when you go to scrape the sides, you'll realize there's so much resin that's not actually fully mixed up. And resin is, you know, if it's not cured, it's very dangerous, and we want to make sure we are selling pieces that are completely nice and safe, that are completely cured, and we're using fully mixed resin, because otherwise, I mean, it can cause soft spots in the resin, and if resin isn't fully cured, it can release fumes, and we don't want to make people sick or anything like that, and we don't want to have any stripes, not stripes, but like all those, I don't know what to call them, all those streaks, I guess. We want to make sure it's fully clear. So I'm just going to go ahead and let y'all watch me just mix up the resin, okay? And I'll be back once it's mixed. Alrighty, so you guys, we're not completely fully mixed yet, but I'm just trying to show y'all what I personally do. So when it starts looking pretty clear, like I try to scrape the sides up, and I definitely try to look at the top through the light, because you can kind of see that it's not fully mixed. And even though like it does from a distance, you got to get up close with it, and you see how like I'm pulling it up, how there's a lot of streaks still in there. It needs to be crystal clear like water, okay? So we gotta keep mixing and keep mixing and keep mixing. Normally it does take me like 10 to 15 minutes to fully mix everything, because I want it to be absolutely positively crystal clear. And also, if your house is colder, or if you're in a colder room, it is going to take you a lot longer. So you might want to do a hot water bath. So I know sometimes if it's too cold, I will go ahead and pour the resin, put a whole bunch of hot water in the sink, and then literally hold the sink in the hot water and mix it that way. And we're going to go back to mixing. All right, y'all, we are finally fully mixed. Granted, we do have some bubbles, but you know, towards the end, I was kind of getting a little impatient. And I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to hurry up, because I was taking way too long, because I don't even remember how long I had that resin sitting, and you only have like 30 to 45 minutes to work with resin. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this, trying to think, I just lost my train of thought. I'm trying to show y'all the two little quotes, but for this one in particular, I'm doing come into divine alignment with your assignment, you know, some nice positive affirmations. So I went ahead and I cut it, and I'm going to be moving that cup out the way, because you actually have to measure it, but make sure you are cutting it nice and smooth. And y'all saw those two little, I guess, like indents, or like you could tell like it wasn't like clear, it was like kind of white. You want to make sure you cut those out, because if not, you're going to be able to see that through the resin. So you need to make sure it's nice and crystal clear. Make sure, you know, it'll sit nicely, and you gotta, you know, make sure everything is nice, cut, smooth. Granted, your cuts don't have to be perfect, like, because mine are definitely uneven, but since it's clear and you're putting it in resin, you're not going to be able to tell at all, unless if you have it like jagged to the point where it kind of cracked and you see those white dots. But with the resin, I do like to pour from a very, very, very high from the mold, especially with larger molds, and when I do have a lot of bubbles, because when you pour from a high place, the stream can be extremely thin, and that does pop a lot of the bubbles. And I don't have isopropyl. Granted, I do love using my heat gun, but like I said, I don't like using it as much when I have the words. I feel like the alcohol works better. Also, I forgot to mention to you all, when y'all are printing things out on the transparency paper, I usually like to wait 30 minutes to an hour before I put it in resin. I've never put the transparency in paper directly after. So I do want to mention that just in case if, I don't know, y'all's ink isn't fully dried or something. And also make sure you're printing it on the right side, because if it's coming out smudged, like it probably wasn't printed on the right side. So just follow the directions that comes with your specific transparency paper. But y'all can see I'm still pouring and pouring and pouring. It's okay if this first layer isn't that good, because like I showed y'all earlier with that eyelash tray, we're going to be putting a clear layer, then the words, then we're going to be putting the clear with gold flakes. So it's okay if this layer is uneven and not the whole entire mold isn't cured. We just want to focus on making sure there's enough resin. I just think I said that wrong, but anyway, we just want to make sure there's enough resin where the words are going to be, because that is honestly the most important part, okay? Alrighty, now that we have pretty much all of the resin completely out, y'all know I was scraping that cup till I couldn't scrape it anymore, because we do need all the resin that we can possibly get, okay? Ain't nobody wasting resin. Resin is way too expensive for that. But y'all see, like, I'm just literally scraping it out and then using the cup to scrape the sides of the popsicle stick. So I was literally just going through a whole entire process of that, just making sure I got every single last little teeny drop of resin, because I really don't like to waste resin. And I'm pretty sure none of y'all like to waste resin either. So that's why it's always beneficial to make sure you have those little extra molds next to you, also like smaller ones, and it's easier to fill up. I did get resin on my finger, so you know, baby wipes to the rescue. Now normally with the baby wipes I do like to spray isopropyl on them, but since I am completely out, I couldn't use that, so I just had to scrub a little bit harder with the baby wipes, because it usually comes right off when you spray isopropyl on it. Or even if you have alcohol wipes, I mean, those could work too, because I'm pretty sure I did use some of those that had little tiny ones that I used for when I sell pop sockets. Alright, so I do have the syringes there, because like I showed y'all before, like y'all saw the little stitch, I did have a phone case that I had to make, so I definitely needed stitch, okay? So I mean, y'all can ignore this part, y'all can speed through it. But yeah, like I just didn't have time to like edit, you know. So y'all can just watch me do that. So, you know, this can be a fun learning moment. So when you ever need something to fill a very tiny mold like that, and you can take away from a bigger mold that you're filling, instead of having to mix 2 ounces of resin, you can just borrow. Okay, so that's what I did. But now I'm just using my heat gun to get rid of all of the bubbles. Now with the heat gun, you don't want to keep it in the same place for too long, because you will mess up your mold, especially if you have a low quality mold. I do have a high quality silicone mold, so I do believe this one cost me about $100. It was like 85 to 100, but I know they have them on Amazon with like lower grade mold for maybe like 15-20 bucks. But of course I was just, you know, making sure all the bubbles were out. You know, there was a big bubble right there and I didn't want to deal with that, so I moved it out the way. So yeah, so I just lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm sorry. So yeah, so back to the heat bubble, not the heat bubble, the heat gun. But another thing with the heat gun, I think I forgot to mention, I'm not sure if I did, but when you turn your heat gun on, please make sure you let it fully heat up. So when you first turn it on, if you look at the inside of it, it's completely like that silver color. But make sure it's like completely red, so let it run for like 10-15 seconds. Okay, now after you put the transparency paper on there, you want to take your, what is that thing called, a popsicle stick, whatever you're using. Just make sure you are pressing it down into the resin and pushing all the bubbles outwards, because all of that resin literally needs to come around it, because a thin layer is going to stay in front of it. But all that excess resin, it needs to come behind it and cover the back. Granted, the whole entire back does not need to be covered, because we are going to be doing 3 layers of resin to do this. But we want to make sure as many bubbles as possible aren't there, because if you leave the bubbles there while it's curing, those are going to be holes that you're going to have to go back and fill later. And you might not always have time to sit here and dome a piece. So as much resin we can get in the proper spot and as much bubbles we can get rid of from the get-go, we are good. So even if that means dragging resin from the bottom like y'all just saw me do and putting it to the top, do what you need to do, because this is usually done in 2 or 3 layers. If you're not using the either silver flakes or gold rose flakes or the gold leaf flakes, you don't even have to really worry too much about this part, because you would be doing it in 2 layers. You would still need to push it. What am I talking about? Y'all don't have to worry about this part. Regardless, if you're putting words in it, you do have to worry about this part. I'm so sorry, you guys. I got distracted because I heard my mom and my brother talking. But making sure it's covered as much as possible, and it doesn't matter if there are empty spots. So y'all see by the corner where her hair is, there's empty spots. There's empty spots down at the bottom. You really don't have to worry about those too much. As like I said, we are pouring another layer of clear resin in this. But we are going to be adding the gold leaf flakes to it. Okay, so y'all just see me like making sure like the words are like pretty much covered, because I did want to make sure that was covered, taken care of out the way, and that all the bubbles were taken care of. Alrighty, so we're back at it again with the heat gun. Y'all see like the bubbles are popping. Now this is the part where you want to make sure you have some type of light. Like if you don't have a big fancy ring light, maybe a flashlight, because you are going to need to look close to make sure where the bubbles are, because sometimes you'll see little tiny micro bubbles on the other side. Okay, and if that's the case, you're just going to have to go back and dome it later. But I will be back in about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes to pop the bubbles. Why was I showing my hands so many times? I don't know, you guys, so ignore that. So I'm just making sure that is covered one last time. Now granted, you don't have to make sure it's completely covered, because I've done it plenty of times without the back of it being completely covered. Especially with this stuff, you don't have to, since you're pouring another layer of clear resin. Okay, so I will be back when it's time to pop more bubbles. Okay, I thought I was going to be back, but I was, zooming in, showing y'all the micro bubbles, and all of those are on the other side, which those really aren't going to be noticeable, but you can go back and dome the whole piece to cover those up. And we are back 15 minutes later, popping bubbles. Those little tiny air bubbles that can be very, 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 very annoying. But yeah, y'all, so I came back, popped the bubbles, and I will be back when it's time to pour the next layer. Guys, I'm so sorry. I'm really all over the place, but I forgot there was this little clip that I was showing y'all, the micro bubbles more up close. And then I was also showing y'all, like, don't trip if you don't have enough resin covering the first layer. Because as y'all can see down here at the bottom, there are some spots missing. But remember, we took some resin out to fill up stitch. So first layer was 8 ounces. Okay, the second layer is going to be gold with the clear gold flakes. Clear with the gold flakes. I cannot speak. All right, so it has been 5 hours later. And y'all see that there are popsicle sticks. They weren't there before. I realized that the mold was not level for whatever reason. And that does happen because resin settles by itself. So, I mean, it was shifting way too much. All right, so y'all see I have 6 ounces of resin for the second layer. So we're going to go ahead and get into that. Now, granted, 5 hours, the resin is still soft. So with this, you do kind of want to be careful. So I am adding a little bit of gold leaf at a time until I get the desired amount. Because if you pour too much, I mean, that'll cause you having to use more resin to kind of dilute it out, and we don't have time for that, of course. And then by the time you're mixing it, like just using resins that are at 2 different curing points in one pour really isn't the best to do anyway. So as y'all can see, like I'm really trying to stir this up as much as possible. I'm trying to break the gold leaf stuff as much as possible because normally I would have let that layer sit for a full 20 to 24 hours so it can be completely hardened. So if there were like big clumps of the gold leaf, I could just, you know, pour it and then like kind of like scrape it together. With this, I really can't do that because the resin is so soft. It has only been, that first layer has only been sitting for 5 hours. That's honestly not enough time. It's not even like halfway solid, you know what I'm saying? But I was definitely trying to rush to get this video up for you guys, so y'all can see I added more gold leaf, and I still wanted, you know, to get a little bit more in there, and y'all see how there's big pieces in there, so like that's why I'm kind of being rough, and there are a lot of air bubbles in this thing. Okay, but I think I went ahead and started pouring it at this point. Yep. So I went ahead and I started pouring, and I'm making sure to hit the places that did not have resin, really, where there were spots. I made sure to cover the words, and then I hit the bottom because I know there was a huge indent where there was no resin, and we want to make sure to get that taken care of. So I went ahead and I went through. I'm going to pour this all in here. I do believe I already told y'all that this second layer was 6 ounces, and I'm scraping the sides now, just getting every single little bit last drop of resin, and then using the side of the cup to drain, not drain, but I guess to scrape off what's on the popsicle stick. And with this, like, I did shift it out, but when you're doing this and you don't wait a full, you know, 20 to 24 hours, you really have to be careful because I really could have damaged the resin because what was underneath it was still pretty soft, and you can scratch, like, not scratch, what am I talking about? Scratch. You can really scratch it and make really nasty indents on it. It's just not good, and you want to avoid that. So you have to be very, 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 very careful with shifting out the resin and breaking up the gold leaf flakes. So I will recommend for y'all to wait, you know, maybe wait at least 10 to 12 hours if you don't want to wait the full 20 to 24, but that's just me, my little disclaimer. All right. Alrighty, now we're back. I'm gonna bring out the heat gun, pop all those bubbles that I made from when I was stirring the resin. Super, 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 I guess tough, I would say. Tough, rough, too fast, reckless, whatever word you would like to refer to that as. I don't know, you guys. I really can't talk today, and I'm so sorry about that. But y'all see me just using the heat gun, going back and forth, making sure all the heat bubbles are popped. And we are going to come back for the final layer in about, I don't know, 12 hours. All right, you guys, so it actually has been longer than 12 hours, okay? It's actually been 2 days because it's been a lot going on, but I'm back, and I have 8 ounces of resin already fully mixed, all that good stuff. Yeah, you guys, so it's definitely late, but y'all can see I am pouring the resin from a very, very, very high place, I guess. Y'all let me know what better word I can use. Like, I don't know. I'm having like so many brain farts and keep losing my train of thought. But anyways, I'm pouring it. It has a very thin stream. I am popping majority of the bubbles because the stream is so nice and so thin. And the thing is, when you're doing this, please be careful because y'all can see like I have a whole bunch of mica powders and stuff like near me while I'm doing this. And there's been plenty of times like I've poured resin on the mica powders. Granted, thankfully, thank God that they only got on the cups and actually inside the mica powders themselves, because then I would have been upset because y'all know like mica powders, you can like you only have to use a little bit of them and they last for a very, 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 very long time. So y'all see me now scraping the side of the cup, making sure I have all of the resin. And y'all can see how that back corner, I don't know if y'all can see it on camera, but I know that back corner that's like closer to the mic is like that was all types of off level. Like, I don't know what happened. I think I messed up the mold because I did keep that mold on the floor. So I don't know if I like stepped on it or if I had my ring light on top of it, which caused it to be unlevel. But it's fine, you know, I can just, you know, put popsicle sticks under it while it's curing to, you know, fix that. But y'all can see like I'm literally dragging the resin from the top down to the bottom because there was more than enough at the top where it was kind of starting to like almost have a dome effect to it. So, you know, that's why I started dragging it down. There was a little bit left in the cup. So I was really making sure to fully cover everything. Okay, so that's what you want to make sure, especially when you're doing this as a commission for someone. You want to make sure it's completely level, all that good stuff. This one is used solely for the purposes of this video. Okay, nothing else. It's not even a commission. I do have more commissions I need to do after this, but I really wanted to get this up for you guys. All right, so y'all see me, y'all saw my arm for a really really long time. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so y'all see that I'm really making sure like the eyelash was good too, because there is an eyelash and it's very defined and it's a very tiny spot, and you don't want to have like too much spillage. You know, it's okay if you do, because you can always go back later and use, I believe it's called a Dremel, and you can like sand it down. So yeah, y'all, so I don't know why I'm taking so long. Like, I was really trying to scrape every single drop of resin out that cup because it shouldn't have taken me that long. All right, I'll be back with alcohol inks. Alrighty, you guys. I know y'all hear that heat gun. Like, why didn't I use this? I don't know. But y'all see the heat gun. It's being used. Hold on, wait. Let me mute the rest of this because it's being bonkers. All right, so that's better, y'all. Right? Y'all don't see it. Not y'all don't see it. Y'all don't hear it, but y'all see it. I really cannot talk today. Like, what in the world? But y'all saw me pop all of those. So now it's time with alcohol ink. So these ones I'm using the Let's Resin alcohol ink for the colors. These are purple, and the other color I will be using is dark magenta. And then for the white, I am using, now granted, everything I'm using is pretty much linked in the bottom. Wait, maybe I poured the dark magenta first. Obviously, I'm pouring the purple second. Everything I'm using is linked in the bio. Okay, not bio, the description. Lord Jesus, help me. But the white that I'm using is the Pinata white. That's my favorite dispersion white alcohol ink. Granted, the Let's Resin ink does come with, you know, a regular white and then a dispersion white. Those are okay. I'll use that when I don't have any of the Pinata white, but I just feel like this just comes out better for me, and I like this one more. And plus, it's a lot. It comes in a really big bottle, and then I just fill it up in the little smaller bottles. So I don't know. That's just me. But you know, enjoy me. What is it called? Dropping these alcohol inks. I mean, I honestly love watching this part of the process, and this is like literally my favorite part. Now, granted, I can get heavy-handed, and if you do pour too much of the alcohol ink, and when it does cure after 24 hours and it kind of feels rubbery and mushy, what you have to do, you have to pour another layer of resin to seal it. Because like we said, uncured resin is very, very, very dangerous. So yeah, I'm just gonna let y'all finish watching me do this part. I will speed it up. But of course, if you don't want to watch the whole thing, you know, you can like fast forward, do what it do. Okay, I'm just gonna let y'all watch this. There's really nothing else I really need to go over for this part. All right, you guys, I am back, and y'all see that I'm hitting it with the heat gun. Now, when I'm doing this, I am putting it at an angle to force the resin outwards, not inwards, because I want it to be feathered. This does cause a feathered effect, and I don't like harsh transitions. I like my transitions to be smooth, and I do want a feather effect, because to just have something that's clear with the gold flakes and then color, like, no, like I want that to spread out as much as possible to the edges so it can be a nice transition. And then I'm going to go in with the glitter, because we all know like your girl loves glitter. This glitter I'm using right now is actually makeup glitter from BH Cosmetics, because they had a sale not too long ago, and I literally got like $500 worth of makeup for like only 200. They were having a crazy sale, okay? So I got a lot of glitter and stuff, but I got the glitter specifically for resin, because glitter can be very pricey, but this works. And y'all know I'm a gold girl. I love anything gold, so there's that. I'm gonna give y'all a close up. Now, I know my mom, for example, she absolutely loves how the backs of these come out, so you know, you can just make them where you're just showing the back. And it's time now for the big reveal. It has been a full 24 hours. Y'all see that shine, y'all see that glow, y'all see the feathering effect. So it's not like so harsh where it's just going from color to clear. Like, no, there's a nice little transition. All right, so we are peeling back the edges or whatever. Okay, I know y'all see the shine, y'all see the glitter. Like, yas, that yas didn't even sound that good. I'm sorry, y'all. Yes. No, let me just stop bringing it back to pulling the sides apart, okay? Now, I am going to go ahead and apologize in advance, because my ring light was acting crazy, so I don't know what happened. But I don't like the light dimmed on it, and I couldn't get it back up, so that's something I'm going to need to fix later. But I definitely needed to get this video up. I was not about to fight with that thing. And y'all see me struggling trying to pull the side of it apart, because the suction on it is very, 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 very strong, which is a good thing. But when you're trying to demold it, you want to be very careful that you don't rip it. And we're going to go ahead and see this now in 3, 2, 1. Isn't she beautiful? Like, I really love how this came out. The only thing I do regret is not doing this dark magenta and pink, because I actually like that color combo more. I'm not really a purple girl. But let me know what y'all think about this. And thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate all the love and support you guys are showing me. Like I said, let me know if you do enjoy this. Make sure to leave me a huge thumbs up. Make sure to drop, you know, a comment. Let me know what y'all think. What do y'all want to see next? And I am going to put a clip in here of the little stitch phone case I made. But thank y'all again so much, so much for watching. I do really appreciate it, and I'll see y'all next time.